Hello, welcome back to another episode of Fool of a Took podcast, the number one Tolkien, Lord of the Rings reread podcast in the world.
Hell yeah.
And no one would fact check that on Facebook.
Yeah. It's going to be great. So, now that we know the stats, it's important that before we kick off today's episode, if you're listening, give us a subscribe. Share it with a friend. Make sure you follow us online and click subscribe on the YouTube channel if you're not following us on video. And that way you get to hear us, see us, whatever. You don't miss anything. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier that way. Today we're going to talk about Book 2, Chapter 9 of The Fellowship of the Ring, which is called The Great River, which I got to say is it wasn't that great. It was not that great for them.
It was pretty bleak.
It should have been called The Hard River, The Tough River. If I was going to name this the way he's been naming things, I would call it The River. But he called it the Great River, which implies that there was something magical, something big, something phenomenal about it. Did you spill
a really big
again?
river.
Yeah.
Every episode you start by spilling all over yourself.
I got to get it out of the way.
I love it.
What can you do?
You know what? It's funny.
You close
We're
your
all
mouth?
going to get a little bit of liquid on us today because today is about the Great River.
Oh my God. Did not know where that was going.
I love it. Yeah. To be fair, I would have titled this chapter The Great Enemy.
The Great Enemy? Yeah, it's
The
a good
Eternal
one.
Foe.
A really good one.
If
yeah.
you had to have river in the title, the Arduous River.
Right.
Arduous?
Sam gets everyone all killed.
Yeah.
my
What do you
God.
think? What do you got?
The Bleak River.
The Bleak River. The Wet River.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The Big Muddy.
Yeah.
The Big Muddy.
The Big Wet.
I would have called this the Muddy Buddy.
The time has come for the company to leave Lothlorien, but they can't decide which side of the river to travel down. Celeborn gives them boats so that they don't have to choose right away. The company is showered in gifts of food, clothing, and even individual presents from Galadriel. The elves treat them to a parting feast and some final words of wisdom. Everyone begins to understand that once they depart, the ancient, perfect land of Lothlorien will fade away, regardless of what happens with the ring. They grieve this truth as they slowly start their journey down the Great River.
I honestly, when we started reading this chapter, kind of forgot what happened.
Really?
Yeah. Like we got like a paragraph in and I had to pause it. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? What's going on right now?
Did you black out
I had to
during
go
the
back
last
and I had to like reread the last like page. But, oh yeah, that's right. Like they got the gifts. They're leaving Lorien. They're going down the river. Got it. Yeah. So it definitely was like a bit of like a haze. I felt the real haze in real life from Lorien.
Yeah.
You know?
It's that weird time nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's such a wild departure, right? We are, to bring it for everybody, we are in Lord of the Rings Part 1, Fellowship of the Ring, Book 2, Chapter 9. There are 28 pages left in the book.
Yeah.
They are coming to a point where they have to decide the next stage of the quest. And they have decided, because Gandalf is gone and Aragorn didn't really have a plan before this, they're going to defer the choice until they travel south far enough to get to the Falls of Rhoros, which is this huge waterfall, these rapids. And then they're going to make a choice about whether to get out of the boats and go left into Mordor or right into Gondor and Minas Tirith. So that's kind of where we start this chapter, and that's the point of the chapters, and nobody's in a rush to make this decision. And what they're drifting into is this drastically different landscape. Like they leave Lothlorien, they come off the Silverlode River, it meets up with the Anduin, and they start going south, and Lothlorien is gone immediately. The elvish trees are gone. The moment they turn around a river bend and lose sight of them, they never see anything like that again. Then they have a forest, it's green. Then that fades away to kind of like intermediate trees, sparse trees. And then they start entering this like very bleak, very empty land. And this is the brown lands to the east. This is this blasted, empty, no man's land that the basically endless war with Mordor has created. It's a space where no one can live peacefully because if they go there, they're going to be murdered by something. That's what they're approaching on the East Bank. The West Bank is like, yeah, it's still kind of green, but it's empty. It's kind of getting grassy. It's what it actually is it's the northern frontiers of Rohan, the Horse Lord's land, an ally of Gondor. It's still empty. There still ain't nobody there because it's not safe. It's too close to the enemy. It's too far from any centers of like human power. Nobody can live there because nobody can live there. Really, there's no talking going on. There's no laughter. There's nothing. They've got 3 boats and 8 folks, and they're going in silence. And everybody's kind of in their own heads. And Legolas is like daydreaming about like running under the trees and the stars. Like he's still in Lothlorien in his mind. Gimli is like just thinking about gold and about how much gold he's going to need to build the thing he's going to put Galadriel's hair in. Like he's got a whole logistics thing going on in his mind. Merry and Pippin are having a very bad time. And it's got nothing to do with what's going on except in their boat. Because Boromir is coming undone. And they are watching and they're trapped in a boat with him. Because Boromir is like compulsively biting his nails and talking to himself and staring daggers at Frodo and like getting dangerously close to Frodo and Aragorn and Sam and then drifting back and then going up again. And it's this, they're not happy and they know something is wrong and they're the only ones in the boat and there's no way to scream for help without
water park gone wrong, you know?
Right.
I just wish there was commentary of Merry and Pippin because they're saying some sassy shit.
Right? Like if
It's like if you're going on the lazy river and you're in like the tube and you're floating towards like some fucking fat idiot with his like grandmother hanging out and you're like,
God.
get out, like, get out, and you start getting mad. That's probably how it
I have
felt.
to say, as someone who frequents many lazy rivers, is one of my favorite things in life. When someone is not cognizant of the other people in the lazy river, you immediately hate them.
Drives
If
me
they
crazy.
get into your personal space,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm not
They
doing
act
this
like
with
it's
you.
a mall and they can just stop.
Or they come up on you and they just ride then on your tube. And
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know you.
They make you start spinning.
Yes.
They
Or
like
they start
they go
spinning.
underneath the like the little waterfall and they stop and they like are like, this is
Yeah.
my waterfall now. And you're like, I'm gonna slit your throat in the lazy
It's
river.
like, I'm trying to relax. I love a lazy river. It's one of my favorite
So that's
toys
how
on
Merry and
earth.
Pippin
Me
were.
too.
They were
I-
like,
But when someone
Boromir
abuses
is
a lazy river,
messing the vibe
My
up
issue
here.
at the last one I went to was people would just let their kids like not use a tube. And they would
That
just
is
be
illegal.
swimming and
Yeah.
That is
splashing
illegal.
around in the lazy
against the
river.
law.
And I
That's
was like,
straight
fucking
to jail.
stop.
you cannot
Straight to
walk,
jail.
you cannot swim, you must lazy. You must lazy
There
in
were
the river.
so many kids in the lazy river just splashing around.
We're really going on a tangent here.
No,
Let's
it's fine.
get
It's
it
fine.
all back.
I just want to wrap up with I don't do lazy rivers. I'm way too jittery and active. I
What
would
are
be
you
the
talking
asshole swimming.
about?
I'd be the
You're
asshole
Mr.
swimming.
Bath Man.
Right.
This is the ultimate bath.
No.
It moves with you.
No, it's moving. It's about action. It's about things happening. That's a river. If I want to sit still in water, I get in a body of water that does not move.
Interesting.
If I want to move, I get in a body of water that moves. To tie into Merry and Pippin real fast, the whole time it's Merry and Pippin in this boat just making like increasingly worried eye contact as Boromir like comes a little more unhinged every hour of the journey. And they're the only ones who know, because in a group with 8 people who are trying to be stealthy and quiet, there's not really an opportunity to like, hey, Aragorn, can we talk a minute? I got some, can we go over here? No, there's none of that. They just get put in the same boat with Boromir day after day while Boromir starts to get a little weirder and weirder and weirder. Oh, no. Like that is a common theme with this fellowship is information does not get shared or cannot be shared or shouldn't be shared. And to be Merry and Pippin right now is the scariest possible situation for them to be in, right?
yeah.
Sam, on the other hand, is just having a bad time because it's boats, but he's making the best of it, but nobody trusts him with a paddle anyway.
Also, I feel like because if they give Sam a paddle, or Frodo or Merry and Pippin, but if they specifically give Sam a paddle and the water picks up a little bit, he's just going to go up with the paddle.
Right? Like how much? Like at what point is Hobbit paddling just performative?
Yeah.
Like how much bite can they really get with a
They're
paddle?
like this.
You have to paddle twice as fast as the men.
It's like they're rowing with them, and everyone else is like, "That's not how it works." They're like, "I'm trying my best." And they camp for the night on this little Ayote. How did your boy pronounce it in the book?
8.
It's 8.
Eyot.
I looked it up.
Right. It means it's a little island near the side of the river, and they camp there. And Frodo and Sam lay down, and Sam's like, "Hey, Frodo, I had a weird dream. I think I saw a log that was following us, and had eyes. It was real weird. And Frodo's like, yeah, I would say that was a really weird dream if it wasn't Gollum. And that's like the first time Frodo like talks about this in a way like, hey, yeah, that's a thing. They have this little, yeah, it's Gollum. We're being followed by a monster. Good night. and Frodo goes to go to sleep. Sam's like, I'll take watch all night. I'm just luggage with eyes. And Frodo's like, yeah, you kind of are as far as boats go, but I'll take the second watch. So he does. Sam watches the first night, then Frodo wakes up in the middle of the night to watch till dawn. And he's just getting ready to fall asleep. And like he is about to fall asleep on watch, which is like a war crime. It's egregious. It's like you are the person keeping everyone else safe. And if your ass goes to sleep and everyone gets killed, it's literally on you. This is how people die. Yeah. And Frodo is about to fall asleep when he notices little blue eyes peep up over the side of the boat at him. And he's a yard or two, 5, maybe 6 feet away. And there's Gollum staring at him. Frodo's staring at Gollum. Gollum's staring at Frodo. And Gollum lets out this like hiss. And Frodo starts to freak out and draw his sword. And Gollum splashes away and off he's gone. Aragorn's like, what? Oh, you got your sword out. What happened? And so, I think I saw a thing. I think it might have been Gollum. And Aragorn's like, yeah, it's absolutely fucking Gollum. He's been with us. I've been trying to catch him. I've known about this since at least Moria. And if I get my hands on him, I'm going to make him useful. He's a murderous little wretch. Yeah, anyway, you go to sleep. I got this.
He's just cracking his knuckles like, I want to fuck up this little fucker.
Like, well, they also know that if they don't get him, he's delivering information to the enemy.
Yes, that is the concern, is that you've got this mischievous, evil creature following you. And he's got an agenda, and the agenda is get the ring back. He wants the ring. He's drawn to it. So he's not going to do anything to help the Fellowship. In fact, he's more or less in league with Sauron and the enemy.
Well, they also insinuated that he would just sneak up on them at night and strangle them to death.
Yeah.
Right. Frodo came, within maybe like 30 seconds of being murdered again? Mm-hmm. And that would have been quiet and done and quick. And they would have woke up, no
the
ring,
gone.
no Frodo.
Time to go home.
Well, fine. Well, I guess we'll go to Minas Tirith because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And Aragorn's kind of like laughing off. He's like, he might murder us.
Yeah. Because
it happens.
Well, I mean, if you're Aragorn in that situation, you want to pretend to be asleep until he gets close enough to grab. After that, Aragorn takes the watch, and several days go by, and they have no more sightings. Like almost a week goes by. Now it's getting rocky. The terrain's getting rougher. There's hills on either side, cliff almost. And now they're starting to see like circling birds. And they think they see like an eagle swooping down, like it's looking for something. And remember, birds are a potential spy for the enemy. Right. And Aragorn's like, nah, we travel at night now. Only at night. Only at night. Aragorn decides and tells everybody that, hey, we're getting close to when the rapids start, when the rocks and the water get real rough, and it's going to be bad for everybody. Like, these boats might survive, but we'll probably all drown. And they got these 3 little boats, and they're going down in pitch black, all at night. And they put Sam in the front of the front boat as lookout. Now, this is a point of trust, but also probably the only thing Sam's good for right now, because he can't paddle, and he's just nervous. He's just a wreck. So after a more or less eventful evening on the river, about midnight, Sam suddenly realizes that maybe conditions have changed, and he screams, fucking rocks! And they are like right on top of some rocks and the water and the rapids, and there's noise all of a sudden. Like, how the fuck do you not know that? How do you not hear that before you're literally on top of it?
Yeah.
I mean, all of them should have heard it.
Right. Sam has one goddamn job. One. And it's warn people about what's ahead. And you know what? He waits until the last possible second.
This is the Titanic.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I was like, iceberg.
Yeah. So like it's a moment where if they keep going down the center of the river, they're going to hit rocks, they're going to capsize, they're going to die. So the current is pulling them left towards the east bank, which also not great, but they have to try really hard not to just die on these rocks all of a sudden. So they are shifted very far left all the way up. And now their concern is that they're going to be driven up on the shallows of the east bank. They're going to be stranded on the east side of the river.
The bad bank.
The bad bank. It's going to be a bad time. And as they're coming to this like realization, and Aragorn's like, back, we got to go back. We got to turn all the boats around. Arrows start coming off the east bank. There's orcs. Legolas makes his like yuck sound, which is apparently how elves say orcs. Gimli translates for everybody. He says orcs, and
I love that.
He said orcs.
right, and it's the two of them in the back of the boat. And you know why it's the funniest boat for that news to come out of? It's the only boat that doesn't get shot by arrows. The middle boat, the middle boat, an arrow comes out and almost hits Merry's hand as he's holding the side of the boat. And in the front boat, an arrow goes through Aragorn's hood, like his like down hood. And then an arrow hits Frodo straight between the shoulder blades and like bounces off. And he's like, like, and it's got to suck, right? Fuck, man, he can't catch a break. Yeah. That was the only arrow that needed to go through. Whoever shot that arrow almost won the war.
Yeah, seriously.
But he was wearing his mail, so he was fine.
Right,
but he's not fine. He's just not hurt.
But also,
he's bruised.
But if that arrow had gone 6 inches higher and just buried itself in the back of his skull, done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like getting hit with a baseball. Like you probably didn't play baseball, but like
I did not.
You can get hit with a baseball playing baseball growing up, and it'll hit your helmet, and you're not going to have brain damage, but it feels like a baseball hit your head.
Right.
And that's not an arrow. So I imagine that must have fucking...
So it was my
hurt.
Eastern European coming out. I was like, he's fine. He's a little
fine.
bruised.
Straighten up, Frodo.
He's alive.
I'm
Drink
like,
vodka.
I was like, he's not bleeding. He's
Drink
fine.
Mirovar.
Miravor.
You will drink, be fine.
Yeah.
So,
Clean the boat. Clean the boat.
clean boat, no shit in boat. Stop
Stop
shitting.
shitting. Tell the fat one to stop shitting. I plug him up or you will.
Yeah, have you ever seen Viggo Mortensen in Eastern Promises?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a line he could deliver. Anyway, these arrows start coming out. There's orcs on the Mordor side of the river, the east side of the river, shooting at them. It's essentially they're in an ambush. They're in a trap. And all they can do is paddle away as fast as they can against the current. And the only thing that saves them is those cloaks that they're wearing. The Lorien cloaks, like the camouflage, the fact that the boats are also like this weird, indistinct gray wood, and it blends into the night and the dark, and that's basically all that saves them.
Yeah.
And they get under some bushes on the side, and they're just catching their breath. And Legolas is like, "Oh fuck you, I can play this game." Hops out of the boat, strings up his war bow, the present he got from Galadriel, knocks an arrow, and is like, Frodo looks up and sees Legolas. We get a glimpse of what Legolas, Prince of Mirkwood, is, because he's ready to go. And Frodo looks up, and Legolas is standing tall, looking across the river, looking for targets. His head is like wreathed in darkness and starlight, and he is just a murderer in his element. And then he goes, fuck. Oh, fuck me, holiest of fucks. Because
Direct quote.
yeah,
Yes.
because this cloud, this darkness has started to like blot out the.
I'm just here to, fuck me. Holiest of fucks. And he just like strings his bow.
Fucking Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
And the reason he's upset is because the stars have been blackened out by this cloud that is like sweeping towards them. This dark, and it resolves itself into this like winged dark shape. And everyone feels this deep fear. And it's not quite the same as when they were in Moria. It's not a Balrog, but it is bad news. And when it flies towards them over the river, on the east bank, you hear all the orcs go, yeah! Like there's a lot of excited noise. And then as it comes towards them, Legolas looks up. Everyone else is like getting ready to shit. And
Sam already is.
Sam is already scooping. And
Sam is mid-shade. He's like, no! Bad timing, guys! Oh, no!
I'm empty.
it's just dry heaving.
Tell him to wait!
Need to eat some of the spread.
Just really bad cramps. And Legolas and fires one screaming arrow into the night, hits this thing, it shrieks and does like a little wheel and falls down and crashes somewhere in the eastern bank. That's it. The arrows stop coming. The night grows quiet. Nothing happens. Aragorn says, we're going to paddle back upstream, find a safe spot, and we're going to camp out. No fires, no sleep. Everybody get your shit out. This is going to be a long night. And it is. And eventually dawn comes. And, you know, they're all still sleepy. They're adrenaline crashing. They were just attacked by an unnamed fucking nightmare darkness. And Gimli's like, thank God for the gifts of the Lady of Lorien and for Legolas's good shooting. Munch, 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 munch. He's just eating a little snack. This limbus is amazing. And it's this really cool moment because like Gimli is the only one to speak up and say anything. And it's a compliment to Legolas. And like
they're besties now.
They are.
Yeah.
They're in the back boat, the only boat that didn't take any fire, the only boat that returned fire, and they're just having the best time. And as this night has gone by, Sam and Frodo and Legolas do have a small conversation. They have this moment where like Sam is like, he looks up and he realizes the moon is not in the phase it should be because it's only been a couple of days since they left Lothlorien, and he knows where the moon was when they entered Lorien. And, you know, Mr. Frodo, you know what I mean? Like, this is wild. And Frodo's saying, yeah, I think like maybe I can think for sure of 3 nights that we slept in Lorien. For sure, but you can't really know, and I would never put money on how many days we spent there. But, you know, to my mind, Sam, Lorien is a place out of time, a place from the past, persisting in the present. So maybe time is different there, and it just doesn't pass the way we think it does, or doesn't even pass at all, maybe. And Legolas is like, nah, time tarries for no one, and in no place. Time in Lorien is different, because time for elves is different. It's both fast and slow. It's fast because everything and everyone around us is born, ages, and dies so fast compared to us. That is the grief of elves, to live and to know and to love in this world. It's also slow because we don't count years because they're immortal. Seasons are a ceaseless, repeating set of ripples in a river that is time that just moves on because time does not stop. Everything fades and fails. Frodo's like, yeah, I bet it's because Galadriel has one of the 3 elven rings. And Aragorn leans over and says, shut the fuck up. You should not have said that.
Once again, he has to tell
bad
them.
at keeping secrets.
And not only that, there's so many spies. Literally, the enemy was just upon them.
Yeah, Gollum was 5 feet from Frodo before he nearly killed him the other time. You think he can't hear something like that? And even if he doesn't know exactly what it means, he's not going to tell somebody something?
Yeah, and she confides in Frodo that like
these are all real
Sauron
dangers.
is searching for her.
Right.
And
These
he's
are
just
real
like,
dangers.
blah, 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 blah. It's like, but in general, like, what is Frodo doing?
Right.
You think he would know better by now.
Yeah, you would hope, but apparently not. So night becomes dawn, and Boromir's like, so about those rapids that we can't take these fucking boats through, what if we just ditch the boats, get out on the west bank, and walk southwest until we hit Minas Tirith, and I can take us there with no problem. Super easy, super fast. And Aragorn reminds him helpfully that they've decided not to do that fucking thing and to wait until they repeat it until they get to the Falls of Rhoros to make that decision. That's the only decision they've made, is to not decide yet. They cannot paddle through these rapids. Right. They cannot. So the alternative plan is portage. And if you've ever gone on a boat trip or a canoe trip and somebody says we got to portage the boats, that means you take the boats out of the water and you walk them down the bank until you get to a point where you can put them back in the water. It fucking sucks. Boromir's trying to pretend like that there's not a portage path on the west bank for these rapids. But before they actually engage in it, they have to find the portage path. Like this little like slip of river rock, whatever the fuck it is, to get the boats down past the rapids. And Aragorn and Legolas are like, we're going in the woods. We're going to scout it all out. Wait 1 day. After 1 day, we've been killed. Pick a new leader and figure it out.
Which wasn't even wait. It was Aragorn saying that. Boromir was silent.
Yeah.
Which honestly set me on edge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. After 2 hours, Aragorn and Legolas come back. And so everybody's sitting around going, oh no, what's going to happen? Who's the next leader going to be, right? Worst case scenario. They come back. They say, we found the portage path. It's it's 1 furlong off the river. So you have to drag it 1/8 of a mile off and then a mile or 2 down. It's a bitch. It takes all day. But Aragorn and Boromir, being two big burly men, are able to drag these boats along and get it all done. And even though the boats are light enough that Merry and Pippin can just drag it along if they have to, they can't. They're not big enough or strong enough to physically like handle it over rocks and along the path and to move it around stuff.
Hills and stuff.
They can drag it, but they can't manage it. The river is still their best choice, and they do it. But it starts to rain and rain and rain, and then all of a sudden the clouds clear, and they look around, and the river has entered this like ravine, like the hills and the rock and everything have gotten super tall on either side, and they're just racing down, like the river's getting narrower, and like the water's being forced into a channel, and they're just shooting down, and way ahead of them they start to see these hills. These three big peaks, these three mountains almost. Aragorn is fucking stoked because here they're going to the Argonath, the Pillars of the Kings. This essentially marks the northern border of Gondor. And what it is it's this pair of huge stone statues staring north. And Frodo and Sam are just like taking this in, right? They've never seen a built thing this big before.
This is really big.
They're huge. They're like somebody took a cliff like Rushmore and carved it into a pair of stern kings with axes and crowns. But these statues, these like mountains carved almost, are the sentinels of Numenor. And they're like, what the fuck? And behind them, Aragorn's like, don't sweat it. This is the place to be. This is amazing. And Frodo looks back, and it's no longer Strider the Ranger. It's Aragorn, son of Arathorn, heir to the throne. Like, he looks like a man transformed. Like, he is home, and he knows it. Like, the two kings are Isildur and Anarion, like the two founders of the Gondorian kingdoms, the Numenors in Middle-earth. This is his legacy, and he is home. It's been thousands of years. And Aragorn is the heir, the direct heir to these two giants carved in stone. And he's about it. He's like, I cannot wait to see Minas Anor. I cannot wait to see the walls of my city. And that's a fucking weird way to put it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's called Minas Tirith today. He's using the old name, which is Minas Anor, for him to say, also, it's my city, my walls. Like, he's the heir to the throne, right? He is the heir to a prophecy that, honestly, maybe not everybody buys into. Like, his Boromir is not like, you're my king, you're my man. He's like, well, we're going to take you to my dad and see what's up.
You're a homeless man.
Right. And so for Aragorn to feel that possessiveness and that immediate ownership and that frame of reference,
Like a homeless guy comes up and, I am the king! And you're like,
But no, he's the
Okay.
king also in the
You
elves'
are the king,
eye,
buddy.
which has
Right.
to be a salt
It's
in the
something.
wound for Boromir.
Well,
He
yeah.
feels like he has no allies.
Yeah.
Besides Rohan when they'll answer the call.
Right.
Rohan. I always say Lindsay Lohan. Rohan. Reading Lord of the Rings at 13 is terrible because you just associate it with your pop idols.
But so the point is that they come to these three peaks, they're coming up on them, and this is going to be their decision point because specifically Aragorn wants to get up on Amon Hen, the Hill of Sight, the Hill of Seeing, where there's an old throne there that the Numenorians built. It is a place to see things from. There's Amon Law, where they've done the same thing. It's the Hill of Hearing. And Tol Brandir is this other third peak where no one's walked on. It's just
too hard to get to.
right. But the point is Amon Hen is going to be where Aragorn wants to make the decision about whether or not they go east or they go west.
Which is fitting.
Right.
This feels like the southern version of Weathertop,
Kind of, yes.
right?
But
like
more positive.
A very important place where you sort of
In a sense.
Yeah.
can get up and see the world
Right.
around you and go, we decide now what we do next.
Yes. And it's been 10 days since they've left Lorien. And the chapter ends by stating that they are about to begin the final stage of the quest.
Dude, great job with that. Honestly, the Great River, chapter 9, as I like to call it. I just really felt like this chapter was filled with transition. The first 3 pages is just truly the landscape changing
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, it starts with Lothlorien, which is the most beautiful place they've ever
Yeah.
seen. And then it's like, okay, regular woods. And then it just starts getting barren and bleak and awful, at least on one side of the river. And I thought, like, this was a long trip. It took them, 10 days to get down the river?
Yeah.
And they're just slowly watching the landscape where they're supposed to be going getting worse and worse. And they have 10 days to begin to regret their decision. 10 quiet, well, mostly quiet days of just floating down a river going, oh my God, this is just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah. I've done one a couple of times in my life where you get into like a floaty in a river and you have a couple beers with your friends and you kind of just float for like 8
And you just
miles.
whip oranges at your college roommates.
Yeah. And then, eventually you kind of like, you're like, all right, we're done. And you get off and somebody, gets a car. Sometimes the landscape changes. Sometimes it's not. You go underneath a bridge or go near a highway. I've never really been in a situation where like it feels like maybe perhaps you're going through almost like a different state.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone who lives in the United States. We categorize our environment on the state lines most of the time.
Right.
We're like, oh, well, Pennsylvania's trees. And you go to Jersey if you want to go to like the shore of the banks of the ocean. And you want to go to this, you go to that, you go to this, you go to that. I don't think, and I might be wrong, but I don't think that it's the distance of like New York to Pennsylvania that they're traveling on by boat. But it feels like the environmental changes that swiftly.
Well, Tolkien even describes the East Bank, the Evil Bank, as unfriendly and hostile as the chapter goes on.
Yeah.
And so they're just watching it going like, can you imagine the dread in the pit of your stomach as you're like, I have to go there?
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of made me laugh a little bit was they noted that Sam felt very uncomfortable on the water, very vulnerable, very naked. And I kind of giggled to myself a little bit when I read this because he didn't seem to feel very uncomfortable when he was like nakedly doing cartwheels across wherever it was. Was that the Barrow Downs?
That was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got naked and
But
like,
Tom
in the
Bombadil
sunshine.
was like, shed your clothes, change into your winter clothes, be free, my little human, or my little hobbits.
Yeah.
That just kind of made me laugh. He's like, I feel so naked. I'm like, well, you were fine with it before.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Well, there weren't
that's
people
interesting.
watching to kill him. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is Sam the only hobbit that's drawn blood?
Well, I mean,
know.
Frodo's tried. He just keeps
Frodo's
hitting things that are
stabbed
on the
in the
dark
feet.
side, and they just evaporate.
Again,
just
blood,
don't bleed.
blood. Drawn blood, though.
Maybe.
Well, Merry and Pippin fainted.
Right. Right.
were
Several
useless.
times.
So Sam got his head wound in Moria and gutted an orc,
Yeah.
and he's got a KDR of 1 right now.
Didn't he also hit the Watcher?
Yeah, I mean, he also cut off a
Did that.
tentacle,
And
but
he
didn't
also
kill.
tried to chew a tree.
Yeah,
I mean,
so Sam's ready to kill anything that threatens Mr. Frodo.
Sam might be a problem.
So that moment when they are on the west,
Sam might have issues.
He does.
They all do now.
So trauma does things. So they're on the West Bank and they're like trying to pass this night, and everybody's sleepless and upset. And before Sam notices the moon, Tolkien writes that Sam is like doesn't have his sword out, but he's tapping his fingers on the hilt of his sword like he's counting, like just kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you slow that down and put that in the context of like a Western film, that's a character that's going to kill someone for no reason.
That's like in a Western, someone who's counting the bullets in their six bullet revolvers.
Yeah,
You know?
just like slowly playing with a gun,
Or holding it out like.
or just like
Getting to know the
waiting,
feeling in your hand.
Yeah.
itching to do violence,
Yeah.
and that is
He's now had a
Samwise.
taste.
I want to talk about Gollum.
Oh,
Right, so
finally
I
revealed.
hated that part.
that's so fucking great,
Finally.
right? Now we know.
We have heard a lot of sort of lead up to who the monster of Gollum is, but it's still sort of winter. And this hobbit, which has become a monster, is able to paddle and sort of hang out in the river in the wintertime, which would normally kill or freeze.
be very cold.
And like mammals, I guess would be the word, right? And I'm
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a hobbit. A hobbit's a mammal, and it's able to paddle and keep its feet in the water for hours/days on end. That's very interesting to me.
We don't know what the ring has done to Gollum in the 500 years he's had it. The humanity, pardon the phrase, of Gollum is half a millennium removed from when he was himself.
When he was Smeagol.
Sure.
Smeagol, who dreamed
But
only
do you
of...
think that the ring emboldened
dark
him or made
hobbit.
him weaker?
I think it made him a slave to the power of the ring. So his physicality is geared entirely towards survival and just being a vessel for the ring. He's a physical body to move the ring to where it wants to go.
But Chris, a call back to when Gandalf first described Smeagol Gollum to Frodo.
Yeah, he stinks.
He says that he was of a hobbit type of creature that was very good at swimming, very good at being on a boat, love the water.
I had another question about orcs. So it's said that they have really good vision at night. Traditionally, animals that have a tremendous night vision have not the greatest of day vision. Is that something that carries over to the orc mythologies sort of background with them, or do they still have really good day vision as well?
Short answer, orcs are a night creature. There's a lot of implied things in the text that we get. This is a moment where if you haven't read The Hobbit, you lose out on just a little bit, but it's more characterization than it is like material lore. Because orcs are a creature that are more at home in darkness. They are a tool of the enemy. They are created by the capital E enemy. They like the night. That's why when they left the gates of Moria, it was super important that while it was still daylight out, they get as far the fuck away as they could. Orcs have an affinity for darkness and an aversion to daylight.
Interesting. So they don't even want to be like in it.
They do not.
So they should travel by day.
During the daytime, they thought the birds were spying on them.
So what? Who's going
I
to come after them?
suspect the birds.
Who's going to come after them?
I think the birds told the orcs where to be.
Probably.
Or Gollum.
But like, all you have to do is just go to bed at night
Yeah, but
in the boat.
They're
float
being
through.
spied on during the
if
day.
you go to bed at night, Gollum strangles you.
Yeah, that's true. After Legolas sinks the big thing,
Yeah, the big shadow.
the big
Evil
flappy thing, which I don't know what that was. I kind of thought
I
maybe it
want
was
to know what that was.
maybe it was something that has to do with like a rider, but it wasn't a rider. It kind of like sucked him into that world for a second.
Right, because it
It made his shoulder hurt.
right, his old
Yeah.
wound
Yeah.
aches.
And then he goes, maybe it was ...
Nah.
And then he goes, I'm not going to say. And in my head, I thought, Bill Fernie.
Where's my pony?
Well, that's funny because the thing I think about that moment in the chapter is like in a couple pages later, like Frodo starts to like yammer on about Gladriel's ring and he starts speaking about the elven rings after the enemy has been so close. And Aragorn is like, shut the fuck up. So good. Stop talking about this. But it's so ironic because in that moment, he's like, everyone's like, what do you think that was? Oh my God. And Frodo's like, I feel a chill. I can't talk about it. And he's like, so like, oh, I finally learned my lesson. I need to shut the fuck up. But then 2 seconds later, he forgot. And
Do
he
you, know,
just,
do you know what Frodo did? He was the first person recorded to go, I literally can't. And everybody was like, what?
What? Chris, do you have any ideas what you think that shadow was with the
I
wings?
personally think that it was a ring wraith.
A flying ring wraith. A really, really big flying
and
ring
why do you
wraith.
think that? Was it because of the way Frodo
Did we find
talked about
out later on what
it?
it
Can't
was?
say anything.
Can't say anything.
We don't know. We don't know now. We don't know now. That's
all that
all we
matters.
can really say.
What do you think it is?
I thought it might be a dragon.
A dragon?
Because like that's what Frodo knows
Yeah.
from Bilbo's stories is dragons.
Oh, shit.
Right?
Well, you think 1 arrow took a dragon down?
That's not very likely.
That's literally what happened in The Hobbit.
Is it really?
Yes. One arrow.
a well-placed arrow.
It's been a minute.
That's literally again, guys. You lose out if you don't read The Hobbit.
So one thing I'll say real
love
quick
you, but
too
you-
about if you're not reading, there is a moment with this like flying beast that is scaring everyone as a shadow in the dark. Frodo says, or is feeling a sudden chill, and then he clutches his heart. There was a deadly cold, like the memory of an old wound in his shoulder.
He's having a heart attack.
No.
So my thing is, regardless what you think that is, that's a really important point. If you haven't read the chapter and you're just listening along with us, which we really appreciate, you're going to miss out if you hadn't like known that fact of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely related to
His
the Black
wound.
Riders,
Maybe.
his wound,
Or some dark
whatever.
magic.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
evil magic
Yeah,
was
I'm
that
being
hurt
very
him.
vague, just I don't want to ruin anything for you guys. Yeah.
But it's linked in there specifically. Frodo's physical reaction is that his old wound hurts, and the wound is the one he suffered from the Morgul blade on Hilltop.
So I want to talk about the book.
Which one?
And you might be asking yourself,
What book?
what book are you talking about, Chris? I would like to talk about the book that Gimli is given to carry.
Oh, it's probably very wet.
It's probably very wet.
Oh no.
But I actually bring this up because there was a moment where Tolkien wrote a line in the chapter that I felt was for me to read.
Yeah.
Gimli says, "Aye, we will. The legs of men will lag on a rough road while a dwarf goes on. Be the burden twice his own weight, Master Boromir." Meaning, you will break before I will. And I will continue on and carry
Twice the load of you.
twice the load of you.
So good.
And you will be tired and I will not. And I was like, oh, that's for me. That's like a humbling line for me to read and go, eat crow right now, buddy. Eat crow because Gimli is 1,000 times stronger than I thought he was. And I want that. I want the characters to prove me wrong, to show me what they're fucking made of. And in that moment, Gimli did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was like Gimli's moment, you know, where I was like, okay.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
that's dwarves' things is like they are strong, right? But they're not like superhuman strong. But what dwarves do better than anyone else is suffer setbacks, is suffer problems. They just put their head down and get it fucking done. Which is why you can load a dwarf up with a ton of shit and he will still power through his day like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just wanted to touch on the fact that you guys are wearing like these very nice blues. Like Chris is wearing like a very deep water blue.
Yeah.
Laura's wearing this like lighter kind
We
of
both
like
are wearing
like stormy
Water.
sky blue.
The very Great River.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got this like nice like post-storm
Right.
grayish blue. And
Yeah.
then I've got this shirt on that I picked specifically because I can't tell what fucking color it is.
It's right.
Is it green or is it gray?
Right.
Is it made with wool or elf hair? I don't know.
Oh my God.
Right? Like I love it because it reminded me of
Gimli's just like
fingering it. But like, so Galadriel had these really cool gifts, and it was like, and the part of the chapter is about how they use those to escape. That like,
it is
that-
kind of like the cloak color.
right? Yes.
Yeah, what
that's
color is it?
Right.
It keeps changing.
Right. Is it green or is it gold? Is it that TikTok challenge or is it fucking magic? We
I
don't
would
know.
have called it gray until you said that, and I was like,
Maybe
oh,
it's green.
No, it is pretty green.
I'm
Yeah.
not insane.
But I love that you brought that up because one of my favorite parts of the chapter is when the orcs are descending on them and everything's really terrible, and you think it's just going to be ending in bloodshed. Like this is where the fellowship ends. And even though it's nighttime, and it's a very confusing sentence when you read it out, like Chris had to read it out twice because it's like dark and it's great for the night eyes of the orcs and the starlight is like helping them, but it'll hit a fucking target. The party is doing pretty okay. Like Frodo gets hit in the back, but he's wearing his chainmail, so he's fine. It just like goes off of him, and then it goes through Aragorn's cloak hood that's like on his back, and it just like goes through, and Aragorn probably like turns around and is like, "You motherfucker!" Like gives him a look, and they're like, you know what I mean? Like the party's fine. Like Legolas and Gimli are fine. Nothing's bad that happens at all. And it just makes me think like the power of the Lady Galadriel. Yeah. Like even this far away from Lothlorien, even this much in the darkness, with the enemy descending on them, her power is still blocking Sauron from her. Like he has no fucking idea where they are. The darkness cannot touch her or anything her power touches.
Yes. Oh, fuck. That's so cool because the whole point of their gifts is that it's like, it makes them sort of not invisible, but harder to push.
It's
And she's like, I have touched this. So if he tries to touch you, you will be fine.
So do you think the cloaks kept them safe because they had elven magic?
And the boats.
Or the or like
I think
some more the
both.
camouflage color?
I think
Or
it was
both.
both of those things, but
That's so
definitely,
cool.
definitely Lady Galadriel's touch, like her light, her magic, her power.
And actually, that reminds me of a really cool juxtaposition that Tolkien weaves into this whole fucking thing. Like, remember when they're talking about, like, oh, that's Dol Guldur, and they want to see, but they cannot perceive the heart of Lorien. So all of Lothlorien's stuff is about defensive, hiding, you cannot see, you cannot perceive. What is the symbol of Sauron? It's the lidless eye. It is searching and looking. It's this cool juxtaposition. And like that whole...
This is something that it makes you hard to see.
Yes.
So he can't see you.
It's the antithesis of the eye.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so I really geeked out on this page because I was like, oh my God, the orcs should have dominated them. Like, this would have been game over. They would have gotten the ring.
Right,
they would have taken Frodo to Mordor. It was a game over moment. But they did not realize that Lady Galadriel gave her power. And probably
Did she make those by hand?
She made the cloaks by hand, which was very rare. Haldir was like,
She at least
no one
participated.
gets these. The boats
I
were
think
not
she did
made
about
by her.
3 of them, and then the hand.
She oversaw the people doing the work, so it's like she
She
contributed.
made the command.
I think she did do the cloaks, actually. I think she did.
Well, I mean, she's giving out her
She did
hair
the
left
first
and
one.
right.
It was like presidential. She does the first one, and then they.
So, no, really though, did anybody? Like, I'm still stuck on Legolas's bowstring being made of elf hair.
Is it really?
Whose
Yes.
elf hair was it? That's
Right?
what I want to know.
Was
Was
it
it like
the-
one elf hair or like a
In the corner,
Cord of
It's gotta be a cord of hairs.
Celeborn's like
it's Haldir.
he's just pulling a Chris Farley in the corner. He's like,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
tied
No, that's a really cool moment of the chapter.
Yes, it absolutely is, and
Yeah.
it's what it is amazing is because it invokes this idea of direct opposition between what's over the East Bank, Sauron, Mordor, the searching lidless eye, evil, and the West Bank, this hiding, this inability for the enemy to perceive everything, this hiding behind existence. And these gifts directly tie into that idea. And in this moment, it's the only thing that saves the fellowship.
Yeah.
and that's networking.
But not only that, and I feel like, Laura, you also want to talk about this. It's also like elven time and
Oh my
magic and just
God.
like in general, their whole being.
I
is so the opposite of
loved that.
Sauron.
Yeah.
And we really get to delve into that 2 pages later.
Yeah. I really, really enjoyed that because they were basically saying that, the lunar cycles are a little bit off from where we should be based on when we entered Lothlorien and when we left Lothlorien. It's like we should be either 1 or 2 days later or an entire month later.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting. And it was something I had kind of wanted to bring up in other chapters, but didn't. The whole like waxing and waning of the moon. And I just wanted to make sure people like knew what those terms meant because I took an astronomy class.
Oh, you
way back
fucking
when,
nerd. I love
and I'm
you.
an astronomy nerd a little bit.
Yeah, you
So
are.
a waxing moon is like when the crescent is getting wider until the full moon, and then a waning moon is when the full moon starts getting smaller into the crescent to the
Right.
new moon when it's just black. So they've said the waxing and the waning moon a couple of times. So if you don't know what that means, that's it. And so that was kind of how they gauged where they were in the lunar cycle, which is, approximately a month long. So it was so cool that they were like, well, it's either been a couple of days or an entire month. And we don't know.
And Frodo's like, I remember being there 3 days.
Yeah.
I
but there's probably more than that.
Right.
We've all been to those resorts.
Speaking of black holes, I
Every
love that
hour.
when they're discussing this, Aragorn chimes in and his final thought is, well, time flows onto a spring of little hope. Because he acknowledges
Fuck.
that winter is almost gone. When they went into Lothlorien, it was the beginning of winter.
Yeah.
And now it's the end of winter.
That's crazy.
But spring is not positive. He's like, it's still bad. I'm like such an Aragorn period to the end of that discussion. He's like, well, you know what? We're coming to spring, but it's going to be bleak. So let's keep
Less
going.
likely to die in a snowstorm, but
It still sucks. And let's continue on this journey.
No, 100%. And let's continue on this journey is Aragorn's entire point. Because for Aragorn and for Boromir, this is a meeting of destiny. This is a moment of reckoning. This whole thing is like Boromir has this whole moment where he's like, oh, well, I'm here and we're going to go to Minas Tirith. But he has a quote about what it means with his friends. And
Yeah, it says, it is not the way of the men of Minas Tirith to desert their friends at need. And you will need my strength if you ever are to reach the Tindrak. To the tall isle I will go, but no further. There I shall return to my home alone if my help has not earned the reward of any companionship.
Right. Fuck. Yeah.
He's kind of gaslighting them.
A little bit. Two things. One, to clarify for everybody, we have not called it the Tindrock on the podcast yet. The Tindrock means the Falls of Rhoros, the island where the three peaks are.
That's good. I didn't fucking know that.
What it means is, it means, quote unquote, the decision point.
Got it.
So Boromir, when he says, like, yeah, we'll just get off the fucking river and go southwest early, what he means is we're going to avoid that decision about going east and we're just going to decide
my way.
by default.
Yes.
Now,
Right.
what's super interesting is that this feels like Boromir being really shitty, right?
It does.
It does.
In contrast to Aragorn, who's trying to shepherd the fellowship and the quest. This chapter sets up a very interesting dynamic where Aragorn's whole thing is about Aragorn. Because he's the living fulfillment of a prophecy. And remember, back in Rivendell, he was like basically ready to vomit. And it's been every step of the way he's been trying to grow into this person who he thinks can be king of Gondor.
Who can take Gandalf's place, too.
Right. He's trying to do so many things, but it's all about Aragorn to Aragorn.
But it's also about the ring and the
His
quest.
it's about his responsibilities, but
Yeah.
really it's all tied up in the ring. But also, what personally can Aragorn do? In Aragorn's mind, everything he does is about what can Aragorn do to help this moment. Boromir, he's shitty. He's becoming a little unhinged. He's becoming confrontational about a lot of things. But at the end of the day, an interesting contrast here is that Boromir is only interested in protecting his people.
Yeah.
Boromir is not interested in personal glory. Boromir is not interested in being the king or the best.
Right.
Boromir is interested in securing the things he thinks will help his people
Which is why
survive.
I think he's the next leader.
No.
Oh, we got to talk about that. Okay.
I don't. Wait.
Okay, so-
Wait.
Okay.
Boromir is interested in protecting his people, right?
Right.
His entire people will be gone if Sauron is successful.
So I have a really fucked up
in
take
getting
on this.
the
I love that you're
ring.
bringing that up. So so Boromir is concerned about his people, all two of them and his brother, right?
Oh, fuck me running. Yes!
So there's a lot of desperation there, which can make you more
Yeah.
susceptible.
It's a lot more people, so it's an easier decision space.
So that makes you a lot more susceptible to the greed and the urgency of having the ring. So the ring is feeding on him.
Yeah.
Versus Aragorn has no people. Really, he's coming into a thing that's a prophecy of 2,000 years.
Do you remember how excited he was to have friends for the first time?
Exactly. So Aragorn is more like, I'm going to rise to this challenge to defeat this evil, to be this stronger than the ring. But Boromir is like, I have these three people that I have left out of 5,000, let's say. So he's so fucking desperate for power.
Yeah.
That is why he's unhinged. And that is why they're such great antagonists to each other. Because they're the same person, very different backgrounds, raised very different ways,
They're foils.
very different situations, but the same person.
They want the
Once
same
again,
thing.
it's like Sauron and Galadriel. It's Boromir and Aragorn.
Because
all his three
Boromir-
people.
No, really, but that's an amazing point to make because Boromir has been losing a war his entire life.
Yeah.
Aragorn has not been fighting that war. They have very different approaches to the same problem.
Yeah.
Boromir's problem is that he walked to Rivendell.
Like a dumbass.
He lost his mind on the
Couldn't have
journey.
got a horse. He would have been there much faster. But he walked.
They died as
it took him
well.
130 days or whatever the fuck it took.
Yeah.
There was nothing left after the last stand
Walk
on the
for,
eastern bank.
Walk for yeah. Oh my. Be alone with your thoughts for 40 days after losing an entire army.
Yeah.
Show up to ask the one person who's supposed to give you answers and have them tell you, Boromir, you have a new boss now.
His name is Sam.
Oh.
He's got many things. His name is Elisar. His name is all these titles. It's not your dad. It's not you. It's not your brother. Y'all fucked up.
Yeah.
It's your like 18th cousin.
Yeah.
Right.
And Boromir was like, "Can I have a treat, please?"
He's like, I just want a little ring.
That was me asking if we have any treats for today.
We got some treats. All right, so for this episode's food for thought, I call this What Sam Saw. So I'm gonna flip it around for you guys. So this is a log with eyes. So
I love this.
I
This
can't
is so
fully
creepy.
remember if Pat mentioned that the first time Sam saw Gollum was literally just a pair of eyes peeping over a log behind them as they floated down the river. So this is how I imagined that. So I've created
It's all
homemade
scraped.
mini Swiss rolls. Yeah, to be a log.
Yeah. So it's 4. We're staring at a blue plate
For the river.
with 4 like mini Swiss rolls, right? So they're like chocolate covered
Covered
logs
in chocolate, yep.
that have eyes. And
Like-
they look like the most
Like googly eye looking
they look
eyes.
Yeah. They
I
look
want you
like
to see it
deranged and malevolent
here.
Muppets.
This is
I see
this is
it.
what Sam's
Wait, show the camera. Show the
Okay.
camera.
We've discussed the like chocolate ho-ho log shaped eyeball things on this plate. So we've discussed that we've got these 4 chocolate log ho-ho eyeballs staring back at me treats on a blue plate.
Is the blue supposed to be like water?
Right.
Right,
river.
Yeah.
River.
You gotta, Chris, you got to think deeper.
I'm
think
thinking-
deeper.
blue glass
Think deeper.
plate.
Water.
So, Chris, what else is on the plate?
There are little orange crackers.
Yeah.
Are they goldfish?
Well, according to this label, they are cheddar cheese crackers, sea creatures shaped.
We're gonna die.
I'm pretty sure they're meant to be goldfish, but not.
So these are what we call the Dollar Tree alternatives.
My God.
Hold on. It is. Oh my God! They didn't even change the font. It just says
Nope.
cheddar cheese
It's
crackers.
It's on purpose.
But
Sea
they're
creatures.
mostly whale shaped.
You say mostly, but there's something that looks like a pile of snakes fucking.
Oh God.
I thought it was like a prehistoric
I would
fish.
argue that the diversity and inclusion of these are much greater than goldfish.
That's true.
Well, let's dig in.
It's very much a monoculture of goldfish. All right,
Everyone take a log.
grab a log.
All right, so now we're all going to take our logs in hand,
All right, so this is meant to
and
be
we're
a
all
mini
going to.
ho-ho.
Chris, that was a nope. Chris, that was a
Oh.
fish. It was an aquatic animal. All right. So, do we look at the log as it looks at us? Do we look at each other?
I feel like you should have to look at the eyes while you're eating
Okay.
it.
So
Yeah.
everybody take a second, make eye contact with your treat,
Okay.
With your Gollum.
then detach your jaw and swallow your treat whole.
All right. Cheers. Cheers.
Welcome to the Great River.
The Great River.
Oh, God.
Is this a ho-ho?
Oh my fucking God. This is so good.
So this is a big old chocolate. This is a big fat chocolate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
very
a ho-ho.
circular, like a ho-ho. The outer shell, this hardened,
Where did yours
melted.
go?
I've been eating
It
it.
doesn't matter. Right? Like the middle of this sort of circular ho-ho-esque thing, we've got a little cream, and then we have sort of chocolate cake surrounding that, and then on the exterior we have like a hardened, melted chocolate, but it's like
Shell.
cooled shell.
Yep. So hopefully it's
what
not
was the
melting.
eyeballs?
It was delicious.
Oh, the eyeballs I literally bought out of a store. Can you believe I just had all this stuff lying around my house, including candy eyeballs,
I can.
ready for everything? They were unopened, ready to go. I was
You
like,
had the
what?
eyeballs already?
Yeah. I love
So now, if everybody pays attention to the plate, we have 4 things left.
That's true.
They appear to be 4
One for
aquatic
each of
sea
us.
creatures.
4 watchers, if we will.
Oh no! Yeah, there's eyes on every one of them.
Definitely not a
So,
goldfish.
to be clear, the log was made of a hard and sweet outside and a sweet and
Hard
creamy
inside.
inside.
Correct.
Well, if I ever felt like I knew Gollum, then
You just
tonight
ate
was
him.
the night because I consumed his body.
Well, at least his eyes.
That's fucking delicious.
Aw,
I
thanks.
inhaled it.
So good.
It was so fucking
If
good.
you have-
RJ ate hers so fast.
I'm actually kind of bummed because every now and then we do a food for thought, and Laura places like there's 4 of us, right? So Laura places 4 things on a plate, and we eat it, and then we're like, "Ooh, that was so good," and then we go, "Cut, that was a good episode," and we like high five, and we're like, "All right, let's like pack up our stuff and go home." But we go out to the main room where all of our jackets and all of our stuff are. And there's 12 more things.
There's 4 more of these.
Anyway, I just want to say, collegially,
What?
Oh, say that
as
again.
a Tolkien scholar,
If I was jerk.
Laura, I will say this. I'm not a huge dessert person. I normally don't eat anything faster than Pat. I inhaled that in 10 seconds, and I finished the dessert before Pat.
You sure did.
No, to be real,
I'm very proud of you.
I'm used to like inhaling my food and getting strange looks. I took one enormous bite of this thing. I was like chewing happily, and I look over, and I'm just like licking her fingers clean, and there's nothing. There's no indication that food has made it her direction except the happy glow.
oh my
Meanwhile, you
God.
have like an entire blob of whipped cream on your chin.
I'm still covered in food.
Yeah, I can
happens.
see it.
But Laura,
It
that is
happens.
compliments to the chef or baker. Thank you so much. I loved it.
I think the next episode is a good place to end season 1.
Having read the books before, I'm going to say that the end of the published book is a great way to end a season.
Yeah. If I'm going to follow in Dirt's footsteps,
Yeah.
Jerk steps.
and I don't know how the Fellowship of the Ring ends,
I don't either.
but if I'm correct, they all fall asleep. And I'll just go to bed with them.
Yeah,
And I'll sleep for 3
Hibernate.
weeks and take it in and enjoy it. And then inevitably I'll wake up and I'll feel the need to text all of you guys and go, hey, shall we read The Two Towers, which is,
But together.
you know,
in our
together.
pajamas.
Well, maybe
But can we sleep for 2 weeks in between?
Yeah, okay.
I really
fine,
like
we
that
can do it.
idea.
That gives everybody who is catching up a chance to catch up to where we are.
If you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching the show, however you get it, if you think that it's fun that new people are discovering this stuff, please, God, like and share. And it's not because we need a boost, but it might help people find this who might not otherwise find it. So if you like, share, subscribe, whatever you do, it takes 10 seconds. We appreciate the fuck out of it because it means that this gets to other folks that it might not otherwise reach.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you're listening on audio only, make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week for the final episode of season 1 of Full of a Took, which is called
The Breaking of the Fellowship.
The Breaking of the Fellowship. This sounds fucking dark.
I don't love this.
Welcome to the
Hey.
last stage of the quest. I hope everybody is drunk. Woo! I am so excited.